Sierra, Hotel, India, Echo, Lima, Delta, Shield.
Alright, welcome into the Salamander Society. I am your sports entertainment salamander. You could say with my southern accent, I'm the AJ Styles of Wrestling Podcast. Here to take my title from everybody else. So, here we go. We're going to get into this Battleground weekend. I wanted to do it in this format. I was originally just going to review each Battleground, Raw, and Smackdown live, but I decided to do it this way. I'd watch all the shows, and then on Wednesday come back and review everything. So I realized that this might not be the best thing for views' sake, but we'll see if people that are looking for a SmackDown Live review will pick up on this. This is going to be pretty long, so just be ready for that, but I hope it's going to be enjoyable for you. Let's start off with Battleground. We get to the kickoff show. Usually it's crap, but this was actually pretty good. The Usos and Breezango, I really like Breezango. Everybody it's starting to grow, and everybody, it looks like. And with their win, with the roll-up, they got a big pop from the crowd. And I feel like collectively the wrestling universe popped. I think we love this team now. It's just one of those teams, WWE history, this has always happened where you throw a team together and it just works. And this is one of those teams, and I was really hoping that because I love both of these performers. They're both really good in the ring, really good characters and all of that. Except for Tyler Breeze. I don't like his character all that much, but with Fandango, and if they just go on with this goofy stuff, I love it. And then if they can turn serious down the road, it'd be even better. So, with that, the kickoff is over and onto the main card with the women's tag match. Charlotte teams with Dana Brooke, her little partner, to face Sasha Banks and a mystery partner. And it was one of 3 or 4 people. It's either going to be Bayley, Naomi, Nikki Bella, or some legend, maybe even like Lita or Trish Stratus is what people were saying. Or Eva Marie, which was going to be terrible. And I knew they would. I knew in my mind they are not that stupid. They're stupid enough to let Roman Reigns go on a year-long babyface turn where everybody in every single stinking arena, they boo him out of it. But they're not stupid enough to put Eva Marie in that spot. I hope they aren't, which they weren't. It was Bayley, which everybody thought it would be. And she comes out to a legendary, massive pop. One of the biggest pops I've ever heard. And it was predictable. Everybody knew that it was probably going to be Bayley, but still, we loved Bayley that much that we would pop for her. It was a solid match. They went on to have a good solid match. And Sasha submits Charlotte, which is kind of surprising. She submits Charlotte with the bank statement. And what's even more surprising, what happens the night after, which we'll get to here in a little bit. But we move on to the Wyatt family versus the New Day. This is personally my most anticipated match. This is what I most anticipated from this card. And they did not let me down, at least me. They might have let somebody else down, but they didn't leave me down. There was only 2 negatives that I could find, and they both kind of linked together. I thought it should have gotten about 5 more minutes of match time, or it should have got 5 minutes after the match, all filled with a dramatic scene with the Wyatts and Xavier Woods, and maybe even the rest of the New Day. I felt that they dropped the ball a little bit with that. It kind of fell flat. It was awesome when they actually played to that, like in the beginning of the match and when Xavier got tagged in. But I think that they could have gone the whole way with Xavier. That's the second negative. I felt that they could go the whole way with Xavier right now. They didn't have to wait, but it looks like they might wait. But that's a negative to me. I felt like he had the chance. They had the chance right there to turn Xavier over to the Wyatts and make a great storyline. But it looks like they might do that down the road. And now this feud, it looks kind of, you can't really predict anything from it, and you can't really know what's going to happen next because they're all on separate shows. Braun Strowman's the only Wyatt family member on Raw, and New Day's on Raw, but they all just split up their separate ways, so you don't know what's going to happen. And my prediction is that Bray shows up on Raw in a promo setting, like his backstage creepy promo. I think that might happen if they're looking to continue this feud. It looks like they might just do that, and they might have this big turn at SummerSlam. And just for tonight, it kind of fell flat to me. They just did their little thing and went off the air. So it felt a little flat, but still I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was interesting. So the ending left me intrigued and interested. So other than that, it was a great storytelling. It was a great storytelling within this, with Xavier and Bray Wyatt. I just wish that they would have went all the way, unless they're planning on doing it later. But anyway, the Wyatts or Bray Wyatt specifically, pins Xavier after a nasty and a sick Sister Abigail from Bray to Xavier. That was one of the best Sister Abigails I've ever seen. Xavier sold that to perfection, and Bray, that was nasty and powerful. I love that move when it's done right, and it was done really good right there. Moving on to a less eventful match, Rusev versus Zack Ryder. It was an alright match. It was a good showing from Ryder. He put up some strong feed pushback, and in my predictions, I said I would like to see that, and he did it. So I like to see that, but eventually Rusev crushed him. No pun intended right there. And it continues Rusev's push as a monster. So I wanted that too, as well as a competitive match. So I got what I wanted. It was just, I knew that it wasn't going to be that eventful. So it was an alright match. Didn't add anything to the show. Didn't take anything away from the show. So that's good. Next one brought a lot to the show. Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Oh my goodness. What a match. I predicted that they would steal the show. Or I predicted they had a chance to steal the show. And that is exactly what they did. And it wasn't at the expense of the main event, which I thought it would have to be. The main event was still good, but this one was just better. They outperformed everyone on the roster. And the main event was fine. It wasn't at the expense of the main event falling flat or something. It was just they did the best job they could. And with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the best job they could is one of the best matches of this year. And it's definitely a match of the year candidate. Excellent back and forth action throughout the match. It was great back and forth. And in the ending, it was great storytelling by both men. I mean, most people say that's great storytelling by just Sami Zayn, but if you look at Kevin Owens' side of it, he was great in that. Just falling right into Sami Zayn's arms, and then Sami Zayn propping him up in the corner, kind of patting him on the cheek, and then going in for a second haluva kick. And he kicks him, pins him, and wins. Definitely a match of the year contender like everybody thought it might be, and Sami wins. Next is Becky Lynch versus Natalya, and this is simple, P-break match. Natalya wins. Next on that is The Miz versus Darren Young, and I really don't even want to talk about this match in depth at all. There was a weird thing where I don't really even want to talk about it. The referee called for the bell for no reason, and there was no winner, which means Miz retains. Moving on to the six-man tag match, John Cena and Enzo and Cass versus AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson as the Club. So this was a really good one. This was a really good segment as a whole, you could say, because it was part promo, part match. The promo by Enzo Amore was the best thing I've heard in a while, especially from him. It just seems like before they teamed up with John Cena, they were just kind of cruising through. They had a hot start right after WrestleMania, but after that they just kind of cruised through. And then right when they got with John Cena, they picked it back up. But tonight, or the Battleground Sunday, he really picked it up. He just went off on the mic. My favorite line was, "We got 4Gs, we got good connection." That was my line of the night until later on, which I'm going to talk about later. Good action during the match part of it. One thing I would like to point out is Anderson has a sick spine buster, and he has a sick kick or knee or whatever that was when Enzo tried to get back to the corner, and Anderson either kicked him or kneed him. I couldn't see really, kind of a bad camera angle for that, but Enzo tried to get back to his corner, and Anderson connected with that. So, and Cena eventually pins AJ, which it's all right with me, because that means that this is going to continue. This feud's going to continue, and I think that they can have a great match one-on-one. And Cena's team wins, which was huge for Enzo and Cass. I can get over the fact that Cena won just because he put over Enzo and Cass, and that definitely elevated both of them to far above the tag team titles. They were with John Cena, one of the greatest. They tagged with John Cena, one of the greatest superstars to ever get in the ring. So that definitely elevated them. The next segment is the highlight reel. Chris Jericho hosted Randy Orton on his return from 9 months due to a shoulder injury. A lot of people said it was boring. A lot of respectable people within the wrestling podcast or wrestling commentary circuit said it was boring until the enhancement statement by Orton. But I enjoyed all of it. To me, Jericho shined in the first half, and actually he shined the whole time. He is just great in this character that he's in. And Orton worked the rust out in the first half. Just had to work the kinks out a little bit. Made kind of a stupid joke about Chris Jericho's hair being like Ellen, but Chris Jericho played off of it pretty well, and they made it into a good little segment there. And then the second half, Orton just went off just like Enzo did. He had definitely worked that rust off at by the second half. He had the two best lines of his career in the span of 2 minutes, apart from each other. First, he was saying in response to Jericho had asked Randy Orton why he wanted to face the Beast Brock Lesnar on his first match back, and Orton kind of picked fun at Jericho, and he's like, I can't just come back out of nowhere and then face Fandango. And he wasn't really talking about Fandango in a bad way. He was talking about Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29 when Jericho came back to face Fandango, put Fandango over, and then Fandango has just not really mounted to anything since then. So he's just kind of poking fun at Jericho. That was a great line right there, and we thought that's just worth it all. But then the big one came. Jericho was poking at him about Suplex City, saying, "You're going to Suplex City, you're going to Suplex City." And then Randy Orton says, what does it take, about 20 suplexes to get to Suplex City? But it only takes one RKO to get to Viperville. No enhancements needed. Obviously poking at Brock Lesnar's failed drug test for the UFC. The whole crowd collectively, they just went, ooh, all at once. And I think all of us as a wrestling community went, ooh. And Twitter blew up, just like it always does when something big like that happens. And that was the best thing to come out of Randy Orton's mouth in his entire 15-year career. I thoroughly enjoyed this segment. It was very enjoyable. It started off the first couple minutes a little slow, and then Jericho got into it, and then Randy Orton got into it. And it was just good to see Randy Orton back. And he looked really happy. He looked really refreshed. And that's awesome, because I love Randy Orton, especially when he is feeling good, because you can tell when he's feeling bad, and it's not very good. And finally, the main event for Battleground. Great match. Not quite what I expected. I expected a little better, but I think that they're going to try this again at a later date. And I thought it could have went about 5 or 10 more minutes if they were wanting to go all out. But they held something back, I think. There was some great stuff in that match, even though it was only about 20 minutes. Seth and Dean teamed up to beat the crap out of Rowan. They kicked the crap out of him, and then they hoisted him up and powerbombed him through the announce table. It was kind of a weak powerbomb to me, but it's a powerbomb through a table. So on it, almost instantly, you got to say this is awesome, because that any powerbomb through a table is pretty awesome. It looked kind of stiff, not really stiff as in hard hitting, but stiff as in movement. So, but it was great, and the finish was really good. Roman spears Seth, pins him, and Dean Ambrose just jumps right in the ring, picks Roman up, and dirty deeds him and pins him for the win. It was very simple, but it was very Dean Ambrose-esque. You know that sounds and looks like Dean Ambrose. You know he just did that, and that was great. The finish and dirty deeds, and he wins the match. Very surprising and a very good match. And it was a good kind of surprise. I loved this match. Dean is finally being built very strong. And since the Shield split up, it's really just been Seth and Roman in the main event picture. And now Dean is the one to beat both of them on a single night and claim his place, as of right now, as the best member of the Shield. And I think it's awesome. Awesome. You can tell me what you think in the comments, but I think it's awesome. So an overview of this pay-per-view is a great pay-per-view. One of the best pay-per-views of this year. And if this is what we have to expect for the new era, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. This is going to be, if this is what we can expect throughout from now on, at least until WrestleMania, I'm excited. So this even makes me more excited for WrestleMania, even though it's further on down. It makes me really stoked for SummerSlam, especially what happened the night before. Speaking of which, let's move on from Battleground to Raw. Raw was a good show. Really, really good show. And probably most of you have already seen a couple of reviews of this. But Mick Foley and Stephanie McMahon started out the show in the middle of the ring. They said this is the land of opportunity or whatever, and brought out all the Raw wrestlers out to the stage, and they announced what will be most of this review. They announced most of the night. First, they announced that there would be a new title, new world championship, and actually be a universal championship. Would be the WWE Universal title, and I was happy that they made a new title, but I was very confused as to why it was named that. Very kind of confused. I'm exactly what this picture on the screen shows. I was smiling because I was kind of happy, but it was kind of a confused smile like that. But it was alright. I like the fact that whoever wins at SummerSlam, though, will be the first champion, will be the first Universal Champion, and it'll start its own lineage. I like that. I like the new beginnings for the new era, so I like that. They also announced 2 Fatal 4-Way matches. I liked this setup, setting up the main event. I love that they make you watch the whole show, and that's what good business does. It makes you watch the whole show. And they did that by setting up 2 Fatal 4-Way matches. The winner of those 2 will go on to face both each other in a one-on-one main event for the opportunity to go to SummerSlam and face Seth Rollins for the first WWE Universal Championship. And they lit up Roman Reigns. That's why he didn't get in this spot just automatically against Seth Rollins. They lit him up. Stephanie McMahon dug into him. You let us down. Seth had it in the bag, but you had to go and mess it up. So they did all that, and they laid into Roman Reigns. Everybody was enjoying it. So right now, on to the first Fatal 4-Way. It was Finn Balor, Rusev, Kevin Owens, and Cesaro. I'm not going to lie, I was rooting for Cesaro, like most people were. Cesaro is probably my favorite. And after what happened last night, old Dolph Ziggler might become my favorite, but he's my favorite right now. I was rooting for Cesaro, but I was fine with the winner, and which ended up to be Finn Balor. A very nice surprise. I thought that they were either going to go two ways. One of two ways. Either it was going to be Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in the main event of Raw, because that just made sense with their match the night before at Battleground. It just made sense. Or with the promos that Cesaro has been doing, one of them bad, one of them good, it would lead to him winning and going on to SummerSlam or something, but it would lead to a main event push. But I guess they're going to hold that on to later or something, if they're even going to do anything with it, which is very, very possible, because they never have done anything with Cesaro, really. This is the most he's been utilized in his whole career. But Balor's a great choice. They trusted him with the main event in NXT many times, and he delivered. They trusted him with the NXT championship for a long, long time, and he didn't let down. So Balor's a great choice, and you get to create an instant star. He is already an instant star and an instant main eventer and a legitimate superstar instantly, because you've pushed him this far. So he's a good choice. On to the second Fatal 4-Way. It was Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Sheamus, and Sami Zayn. This was definitely the lackluster of the two Fatal 4-Ways, but it was no slouch. It was a pretty good one. It was a solid match in which Roman dives over the top. I love seeing him do that, because he gets to show off his ability and his athleticism. And like I said in my Roman Reigns heel podcast, I love Roman Reigns' athleticism and ring presence. He is a great athlete. He's got great ring ability. He's just got to show it. He's just got to unlock it. So that just shows his athleticism. At least 245 pounds, and jumping over that. I don't see John Cena doing that. So that was a great highlight, and Roman eventually spears somebody and wins, which we all expected. So, especially after Kevin Owens didn't win his Fatal 4-Way, and so we didn't see Sami Zayn winning that Fatal 4-Way. So Roman wins. They also announced a women's championship match between Sasha Banks and Charlotte. Sasha would get a title shot tonight on Raw. It was the best match of the show, bar none, and that's saying something, because there was 2 or 3 other matches that could have been right there with them, the two Fatal 4-Ways in the main event, but this one was the best match of the night. Counter after counter, false finish after false finish. Charlotte showed why she was the women's champion. I loved the Eddie Guerrero throwback, getting Dana Brooke thrown out, and then waving at her, and then acting like she is hurt. I loved that. But after 2 or 3 times of Charlotte rolling out of the bank statement, Sasha Banks finally cinched it in and tapped Charlotte out and submitted her in a great moment. Sasha Banks holding up the title for the first time, and afterwards there was a lot of tears, and her saying that it's the era of the women's wrestling and the era of the boss. So that was a great moment. Moving on to something that wasn't announced in the opening segment, Brock Lesnar. It was announced that Brock Lesnar would be coming back next week on Raw, simultaneously announcing that WWE would not be doing anything to punish Brock Lesnar. They would not be doing anything to punish him, which is all right with me. I'm all right with that. He's already going to lose a lot of money from UFC. He's going to be already punished by losing money and punished probably by UFC because he was doing that while fighting for them. And I feel like that is enough punishment for him. I don't know not much to say more about that. But moving on to the main event, Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. It was a great match. It is the second best match if I had to rank it. Great back and forth throughout the match. There was great back and forth action. Roman would hit a move and Finn would hit a move. And the finish was really good. It was Finn Balor or Roman Reigns going for a spear, and Finn Balor reverses it into a switchblade, which was really cool to see. Roman get his main move reversed, and I think this might be the final stroke of Roman's punishment for his drug infraction. This might be his final judgment for this. After the switchblade, Finn Balor kicked Roman Reigns into the corner like he usually does, and hits the coup de grace, and 1, 2, 3. That's the end. And an instant star is created, whether he beats Rollins or not. It's an instant star. We all probably already, early speculation says that Rollins is going to win, but you never know. Never know what's going to happen. So, whether he beats Rollins or not, he's already a star. He's already a main eventer, a legitimate main eventer. So, that's all you can ask for with the new star. They handled this new star very well. With that said, moving on to SmackDown, the night after, we knew that it would not be as good, which it wasn't, but everybody says it. Most people say that it was really bad, which I don't think so. I think it was pretty good. It wasn't near Raw at all. It wasn't on the same universe as Raw, but it was still really good. It was still really impactful and still made me excited for SummerSlam, just like Raw did. The opening segment, they did kind of an opening segment like Raw did. It was kind of weird, but different. Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan welcomed everyone behind stage, and they walked through the gorilla position out to the arena and walked all the way to the ring as they were talking. And there in the ring, all the superstars for Raw or for SmackDown were around the ring. They were on the apron, standing right there on the ring. And they set up the main event just like that. They brought out Dean Ambrose, his own entrance and everything. I like how they're pushing Ambrose. He's something important because he's the champion. He's the guy right now. No pun intended, but he's the guy. Maybe you can say he's the dude, but whatever. They set up the main event. They picked 5 people, which were John Cena, Baron Corbin, AJ Styles, Bray Wyatt, and Dolph Ziggler. And they made the 6th spot open for this 6-pack challenge and made the open spot available to every male superstar, which we knew that wasn't going to happen because Randy Orton wasn't there for one. And there was American Alpha. They weren't in there, but oh well. They can say that, though. This Battle Royal was for the first, or for the open spot in this 6-pack challenge for the main event. The winner would go on to face Dean Ambrose at SummerSlam. Set up a title match for SummerSlam for the WWE Championship. Let's get on to the Battle Royal. It was good action. Good action. Most of the time, Battle Royals are just a huge cluster. But this time, it was really good. I mean, was it just me, or was the crowd popping for Kane? A lot. They were popping for Kane when he would hit a choke slam and hit a double choke slam in there. And they were popping for him. They even popped bigger when Apollo threw Kane out. I guess because out of surprise. And people seem to be really turning heads for Apollo now. He started off very, very slow, but it seems that he's turning it around right now. that made it a hot start for the show, and I had big expectations. And then right after that, they announced that Shelton Benjamin would be coming back to WWE, but specifically coming back to SmackDown. I'm not going to lie, I was out of the room during this. I had to do something out of the room, so I missed it. And I'm really bummed out that I missed it, but I went back. I looked on Twitter and Facebook and saw that this had happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, look at that. And I was really bummed out I didn't get to see it live, but I went back and watched the video package and everything. It's really cool, really, really awesome. I bet everybody popped when they heard "Ain't No Stopping Me Now." But I popped, definitely. But I'm excited for him. They should. What I really want them to do is push him this time. Push him. Don't just let him stay there in the mid-card or whatever, or the tag team. Push him, which I think they will. They're bringing some importance back to him right here, so I hope they do that. On to the Miz TV segment. Miz went out, and he's probably done this 5 or 6 times now, where he turns it right around and interviews himself. And he interviews himself for a little bit. It was kind of boring, and then Randy Orton comes out, and we're all like, okay, it's on. I love Orton right now. It wasn't the best segment overall. He had a good line in there, but a line or two in there, so that's good. But it turned into a match, which was not that good at all until the end. I liked kind of showing Orton working out the kinks or working out the rust or something by hitting a couple of RKOs instead of just one, because we know that one would have been enough. But I liked that he hit 2 right there, got the crowd into it, and that was all that segment had for us. Moving on to Heath Slater. Oh wow, I was excited when I saw him throw out that jobber. He came in, threw out the jobber, kicked his butt, threw him out, and then cut a really good promo. And I thought, wait a minute. They're going to actually do something with Heath Slater. They're going to actually do something with him. Of course, that was a bummer. It didn't happen because he came out with a great entrance, coming out Scott Hall style, out from the arena in street clothes, threw out the jobber, and then eventually was gored by Rhino. As Shane McMahon came out, he turned around, Rhino was behind him, and he said he was looking at the hottest free agent right now, which that's a lie. And he turned around and got speared by Rhino, or gored by Rhino, which I didn't like at all. It was a bummer because Heath Slater is one of the most underutilized talents in the WWE, and I hate underutilized talents. Or I hate WWE for underutilizing talents like him. I guess going on to the main event now. 2-hour shows, I love them. I loved this match. This was the match of the night, bar none, hands down, the best match of the night, and it was up there with Sasha Banks and Charlotte in my eyes as far as how entertaining it was. There was a high intensity, high drama, because you didn't know who was going to win. We figured that AJ and John Cena wouldn't win, but it looked like it might happen there for a second, especially when John Cena hit that that last AA right there. I thought for sure AJ wasn't going to kick out, but he kicked out the very last second. That was awesome. There is high intensity, high drama, close finishes, and a whole lot of attitude adjustments. I mean, seriously, there had to have been about 8 of these. John Cena just went crazy with the AAs, showed how weak the AAs are because he didn't pin one person with them. Wyatt was right there too, Bray Wyatt. Would have loved to see him win, but I much preferred what they went with, actually. And at the finish of the match, AJ's guy that he's beating up rolls out of the ring or something, and AJ turns around, and Dolph kicks the living crap out of his face. He kicks the living crap out of him. Oh my goodness, go back and watch this. This is my highlight of the night. Turns around and takes the super kick like a pro. And I know these are all professional wrestlers, but this is like the best selling job of a super kick ever. And it might have been one of the best super kicks ever. If you go back and watch, it looked like a tooth flew from AJ's mouth. If you look, and it looks like a tooth fell from it, and it was stiff. It was a stiff super kick. And even though I didn't expect a super kick to be the finish of a match, since it hasn't been in a while, it was. That deserved it. That super kick deserved it. If Dolph Ziggler hits super kicks like that, that should be the finish, because he might, if he kicked all the way with that kind of kick, he probably would legitimately knock somebody out. It deserved to be the finisher. It was. Dolph pinned AJ 1, 2, 3, and now Dolph is facing Dean Ambrose. I am excited for SummerSlam now. I love this match. I love this idea for this match. That stare down at the end gives me chills, because these are two of my favorite WWE superstars right now, and they're staring down before they go into a match at SummerSlam. It gave me chills. So, and I put that picture right there on this, so that moment right there gave me chills. A lot of people didn't like it because they haven't done anything with Dolph Ziggler in several years, and they might just not like Dolph Ziggler, but I love him. He is a great wrestler. He is one of the best performers in the business right now. And now with a title shot, it might give him new life, and he might go back to his 2013 ways or something like that, where he's stealing every show that he's in. So hopefully he can do that. Hopefully he turns heel, because that's what this feud needs, is some edge eventually. For this week, it's fine for them to just stare down, and then Daniel Bryan raise their hands and all that. That's fine, but eventually it's going to need some edge. They might be able to even make it through SummerSlam with two baby faces, but it's going to eventually need some edge to it, and I think Dolph can provide that. Dean is way too over to provide that. Although it might work if they try to turn Dean heel, but I think he's already like half and half. But that's his character right now. I think that should be his character for the rest of his career. Dean Ambrose is just a crazy baby face that kind of does some heelish things. They need to turn Dolph Ziggler heel, basically is what I'm trying to say throughout this feud. They need to turn him heel. Great show by SmackDown. I thought that it followed Raw pretty well. It wasn't going to be as good as Raw. That's what the draft and all this was made after. I mean, you can see the writing on the wall that this is supposed to be the B show. But as a B show, this did very, very well. So I liked it. In the future here, I'm going to start doing this like this. That does it for all my reviews. I'm going to start doing pay-per-views like this and going to review the go-home shows for the pay-per-views. And I might split them up into SmackDown and stuff like that. When they start doing SmackDown exclusive pay-per-views like Shane McMahon announced. I might be like, say, Backlash. I'll do Backlash and SmackDown bundled into one review. And then whatever the Night of Champions and Raw bundled into one review, I might do it like that. I probably will do it like that. But I'll do the Go Home show, review that, and it'll be about 7 to 10 minutes probably. So I really enjoyed this whole week and these whole 3 days. I really enjoyed them. Tell me what you thought about them. And also in the future, I've got a whole lot of ideas, some interesting ideas for podcasts and skits and stuff like that. Comment if you've got any ideas. Like I said, I really enjoyed this weekend, really enjoyed these 3 days of wrestling. I hope that all the other pay-per-views that they do are going to be like this, because if not, it's just going to be 3 days of wishing that it would be better. So, until next time, see you later.